Hello and welcome to the typical Chicago fans review of The Last Dance Bulls documentary, week 4, episodes 7 and 8. It is Monday, May 11th. It is me, Boomy, at Boomy TCF. We've got a whole crew here tonight. We have Zach at Z Lilia TCF, Matt Schoolfield at schools_01, and a special guest joining us, Nick Gons. He is on Twitter at Nick Gons 12. Make sure to give him a follow. Boys, week 7 and 8, we're right in the home stretch, man. We're there at the end. I mean, it's coming down to it. We've got one more week left, but weeks 7 and 8, we saw a deep dive into Michael's first retirement from basketball, moving into the baseball world, and then some bits and pieces from the 98 playoffs, and also some great flashbacks. Let's jump right into it. Our favorite moments from week 7 and 8. Does anybody want to start?
Well, I'll start because I think this is kind of going to be everybody's. But at the end of episode 7, when he was kind of talking about Michael was kind of talking about his competitiveness and like how his when he said like when you think that like I was a tyrant and I was like kind of an asshole or whatever, then like you never won anything because I knew
Yeah.
how to win. Like that was one of the coolest things because he can say that stuff. But just the way it came across of what kind of a competitor he was, and like he just used the littlest stuff. He made up things to make
Yeah.
himself the will to win, and like he knew what he needed to do to trigger himself to get him in the mode to win a game. And like even if he had to make something up against players that no one even knows anymore, like some of these guys, like who was the guy? One of the guys last.
LeBradford Smith.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
even
That's a
know.
great story.
I've never heard of that guy before until last night. And after last night, he was like, "What did I get myself into? I didn't even mean to." Somebody told him a night. B.J. Armstrong said, "Nice game," and he took that as like I'm going to win now. Like it's crazy the little things that he had to do to get himself to win. But I think it's overall like his competitiveness.
That's a really good point. I thought that too. That I was sitting watching with my wife. She's turned this into must see TV on Sunday nights as well. And that was like the one quote that I was like, wow, like that. The one you said, Zach, about like that's me. Like I win. You've never won shit. And like that competitive drive, and people can say what they want. Like, yeah, he might have been a tyrant. Like he said, he might have been a prick. But you know what? And he also made a great point, and I think is something that anyone in a competitive field doing anything, that you have to remember. He said, I would never push my teammates to do something that I wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was one that had jumped out at me. So it was a really
Like
good
when he
point.
was going on, he's like, I got the living shit beat out of me by the
Mm-hmm.
Pistons, and back in the day, and like you don't like he's like these guys don't really realize what I had to go through. Some of these guys, and I think that's what kind of made him the way he was just like he didn't think that no one in the league was like in a way better than him because what he went through, and so that's what drove him, and that's why he won 6 championships.
Definitely. I think
the
my
best.
favorite moment though of the whole thing last night was like the whole controversy of the media blame. I didn't realize how much the media had went at Michael Jordan when his dad died. But then for people to think that the suspension thing, like why would a sport intentionally drive away their highest, you know, driving revenue source? Like that just makes no sense. That was my favorite moment. And they had David Stern on there, and he's just like, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. Like, I would not have done that. The suspension thing is not. That was my favorite part, was when they both, David Stern and Mike, were like, no, that's just ridiculously silly.
Yeah, it wasn't making a whole lot of sense to just
No.
throw away your most valuable asset to the trash heap. In addition, kind of my favorite part, like you mentioned the LeBradford Smith thing, the fact that Michael even said that he made that up, that the guy never even said that in the first place, that he just used up like made up, animosity to fuel himself. I think it just speaks to what kind of psychopath he really is. Um, the other part I liked a lot too was when Phil Jackson, he had the inside the huddle during the Scottie Pippen 1.8 seconds,
Yo.
and Phil Jackson when Pippen sat down, he said he was out. He goes, "Fucking Pete Myers, get in." And Pete Myers, I don't know if you know, he was the guy. He was the guy that when Jordan retired, that he was a free agent acquisition. That he was their starting two guard. He was the answer to Jordan. Was they're going to start playing Pete Myers, and just the fact that somebody that kind of grew up in that era, like hearing that name say. Phil Jackson going, "Fucking Pete Myers, get in." It's just like the irony of all of it. It's just like it was like the perfect sentence, and then Kukoc hits the shot too, and just made it even better. But I mentioned it a couple weeks ago that I wanted to I was excited to see what your guys' thoughts were on that game, especially because that one stands out in my childhood. That game, that was like, I remember that game vividly.
I think we should probably hold off on this one because the least favorite person category that we might get.
No,
well, I got
it is
that too,
wild,
probably.
It's pretty wild, like that he would say, like,
not even that though. Zach,
do the same
down
thing.
On
that's
the
what I mean. So that's what
I do.
That's what I
again.
mean. That's what I was meaning. Like, yeah, he said I would probably have done the same thing again. He didn't say a definite yes, but he was like, I would probably have done the same thing. It's like, what? What do you mean? Like, you've been getting so much flack for this, so much crap for this for the last how many years? 20 years, and you're gonna double down again on it? Like,
I'm glad you guys said that. I'm gonna show my cards early. Looking ahead, the most surprising part of it, the whole thing, was Pippen doubling down on that. Is exactly what I have in my phone app. So that I'm glad you guys said that already.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
we'll let Nick get into his favorite part, but we gotta get more into it because that was unbelievable. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, my favorite part, I would say. This is gonna kind of go deep, I guess, but the fact of after MJ's dad died, and he just didn't even want to play because his dad wasn't there to watch it. Well, that kind of hit home to me. Like
when he goes, they were kind of saying something about why he's playing baseball. He goes, because my dad told me that it was the right thing to do. And then that moment, you were like, whoa, like he's very much doing what his dad said.
That kind of took away all the negativity from the first couple episodes and showed that he was a human.
Yes,
he wasn't just a competitor. Wow. He was a human, had feelings.
That's what I did. And it was one of those things, like he was really like just beat up by the whole his father dying. It just really got to him because, like you said, he was like, my dad told me that I need to play baseball.
Yes,
like
exactly.
I'm going to play baseball. There's nothing.
My dad is not here, so I can't play basketball because he can't watch it.
They were like, I remember the part when his trainer was like, I'm gonna be. Well, he's like, I'm gonna be an outfielder, and he goes, well, we're gonna have to change up everything, and it's gonna hurt your basketball. And he goes, I don't care, I'm playing baseball. And like that's just crazy to think that his mindset, like he said, I was thinking about baseball before his father passed away, but like it really pushed him over the edge afterwards.
And I think, Nick, that's a good point, especially like talking about the humanizing of this, mythical creature that is Michael Jordan. And you've seen it a couple times, and I'll use that to jump into my surprising moments, and that's actually, I won't jump too far ahead, but the footage of him on the ground crying when he did come back on Father's Day, like I teared up, man. I could, barely keep myself back. And like you saw that humanization of him and that's kind of why this is in my my most surprising things is because like the whole time, like it was a very stoic Michael talking about, I'm the competitor because of this. And I have such this drive. And then you really saw him, kind of turn in. And I think it was early in episode 7. And he was starting to even get a little choked up talking about his dad. And you just don't see that kind of stuff. And that's why it took me by surprise.
Can I take a little weird spin off of that and be like, his most special moment in his life was not private. Like that was that man has never had a
great point.
Other than after basketball. Like he never got to have a private moment. He went out and he was sworn by people his whole life, and I kind of got to the feeling like when he's playing baseball, like for hours, he can go hit in a cage. He can get away from people. Like I feel like he was that was his escape, was to go play baseball. And he went back and played basketball and won the championships. But like people want to know like why is Michael Jordan like never does interviews with this and that. I think he just was so tired of everything. Like he said, his most private moment in life, like when you said you hear the crying and you've never really heard the audio from it, you're like, man, like yes, it's nice to see that. Like you're sad, but you're also like there was a camera right in his face right after that moment.
Yeah, they even showed that like panned out, and there's like 6 people standing around him in a circle taking pictures.
I'm not saying like it comes with the price of like being he's a billionaire and he's won all this stuff, but like just thinking about that, like that's a moment that you would want to have like by yourself or something like that, and it's just like people like just followed him right to the locker room.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, I didn't know if you had something to say there.
No, I was just gonna say, back to what you were saying about, not even the difference between being on a baseball field and a basketball court and having that separation, you can go on the batting cage or whatever. Even when you're in the game, you're on a basketball floor, you're on the bench.
You're very close.
When you're not playing, the crowd's on top of you. You can hear everything for the next probably 10 rows behind you. When you're in a dugout in baseball, there's a barrier. You've got some protection. You've got some a wall between you and the fan, so to say. You can go back into the clubhouse in between innings too. So I think
and
there's
how
a
crazy
big
is it,
difference in the pace too.
The odds of Terry Francona being his coach.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
incredible.
It's crazy.
That was
and like him saying if you would have had 1,500 at bats, he could have made it to the majors. Like he was hitting 202, and I think he was hitting like 250 or 260 in fall ball right before like the strike.
Yeah.
They say if it wasn't for the strike, like he would have kept playing. Like he wasn't thinking about going back.
He's Aaron Judge's size when you think about it. I mean, 6'6", 220. I mean, that's fucking Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Like.
And I mean,
also another thing I had written down about my surprising stuff was the 13-game hitting streak to start his Double-A career. Yeah. I had no clue it was a thing. I
did not remember that.
I didn't know either that he had to go to Double-A just because the media center was big enough. Like he couldn't go to 1A. Like that's crazy. Though.
That was the thing then. Yeah.
I saw Michael Jordan play minor league baseball. I want to say it was in Memphis or somewhere in that Southern League. We had went to a game.
You hadn't played baseball since 17 years old, and then went at 31 years old and played Double-A baseball and did pretty well. Like he
definitely held his own.
He was like, I have a lot of prospects that haven't hit 50-something RBIs. It's like, well, yeah, the ones that have made the majors.
Yeah, I think it was fascinating too. It was fascinating too to hear him talk about and hear Tim Grover talk about how the body transformation he had to undertake just to go play baseball and then to go back to basketball. That was a great interview. Absolutely great interview. Yeah. He's an entertaining guy. And
he's a
spoiler alert, we're gonna be talking about him here in a few minutes too, again. So not to jump the shark.
Surprising moments, fellas. Anybody else have anything jump out to them?
So Zach kind of took one of mine with the Double-A call up. That was pretty surprising.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Probably play baseball.
But then I don't know if you guys watched it, but I kind of took a notice to when he was hitting, his swing was pretty ugly.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how he ever hit the ball.
Yeah.
It was and then he like stood there for 3 seconds before he ran to see where the ball would go. Like I just thought for being, for
it's those little nuance things that you don't think about.
30 stolen bases.
Yeah.
He had 30 or 40 stolen bases.
Yeah, I thought his swing was pretty rough. But I actually had, for another surprising moment, this one kind of was weird, but there was a few clips there where they showed MJ sitting out of practice while everybody else was going. And, as a competitor I was actually kind of surprised to see that.
Yeah, I did see, like, he was in, like, you could tell he was in this, like, sweatpants and stuff, and he was kind of getting after some of the guys.
Load management was a thing back then, too.
They just didn't call it that. They just didn't tell anybody about it.
Well, he didn't have reporters in every practice tweeting every little detail about everything.
But you say that, though, like, he did it during practice, not games. Like, no one would even know these guys were doing it in practice nowadays. Like, if you want to sit out of practice, I don't care.
It does seem like Phil Jackson was pretty progressive as far as
he understands. Phil Jackson
people and
there's a
handling
reason
bodies,
why
things like
he
that
won.
too.
He won 11 NBA championships. Like he knows how to take superstars and make them work. Like all these guys that talk, Phil is their favorite coach. Like they're like because he lets us be us.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, like I always kind of like I was a little hurt with Phil. Like when he left the Bulls, I was kind of thought his time was up. When he did leave, and wasn't always the biggest fan of his after he left the Bulls. I thought he was kind of I don't know, just kind of arrogant, pompous, kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and it always left a sour taste in my mouth. This has flipped me big time on Phil. This whole the Last Dance as a whole, I think he's been fantastic, and really getting to like hear his thoughts and hear how deep he's gone into some of this stuff has been fascinating to me.
He is a very interesting character. That you can say
man.
To say the least. I mean,
just the way he goes about handling personalities and things like that too. It's incredible.
And the way he talks about stuff is just like his perspective is just like takes everything with a grain of salt. Like everything is like I understand all the Scottie Pippen stuff. I understand MJ. I understand Rodman. Like he just is so laid back that the players understand like he has their best interests in his mind. Like he's not trying to screw anybody over. Like he's out to win. And like even with him, like he was against the organization just like the players were.
Yeah. He just comes off very, very genuine as a human being and a coach and a leader and all that stuff to me.
Yeah, how awesome would it be to go through life and really like just genuinely not get stressed out about shit? Like have that ability to not be stressed out.
How nice to be just be like, oh, like this. He was on one of the most stressful teams in the most stressful situations, and he was just like, "It's okay, we'll get through this. We'll make it through this."
Maybe he did get stressed, but he didn't show it.
Yeah.
Oh, like everyone got stressed. Like, but the most stressed everyone looked was after the Scottie Pippen situation.
Right.
Yeah. It seemed like everyone was. They just won the game. They hit a game winner, and Bill's in the locker room like looking so mad, and everyone's mad, and people are crying after the game and stuff. It's like that's just wild to see. Can I jump right into my favorite person?
Yeah, absolutely. Start us off, Zach.
My favorite person is James Jordan, Michael Jordan's dad.
Yeah.
The stories that they kind of went into about like how nice he was and how nice he was to the people and how much he just appreciated how good his son was and how hard his son worked. And he just seemed like a genuinely nice man. And the whole situation was just shitty too. Like you said, when the reporters kind of came after and like even insinuated that anything had to do with Michael, like that's just so crappy to have to see that like on the front of newspapers. And I forget what guy it was. It was like a lot of writers lost credibility during that time because you can't just say something. I don't care what you think. Like that was just awful to see. But Michael Jordan's dad just seemed like such a nice man and was willing to give back to the people. Like you said, he would be walking in the locker room after a game and just take a young kid and just take him back to the locker room and he could go meet Michael Jordan and go to the locker room. It's like that's just the nice stuff that he was doing. And just the way it all went down and the situation was just sickening too. It was just kind of crazy how it was just so random too. They kind of made it seem like afterwards, like they were looking through the glove compartments and they're like, they kind of put two and two together. Like this may be Michael Jordan's dad. And then the whole thing, like, it was a wild situation that I had never really heard of because I was not, I would think I was maybe just being, I don't think I was born yet when the whole thing when it happened. So it was just interesting to see that and I mean, there's a lot of things that, like you said, Michael Jordan is a very stoic guy, but when he talks about his dad, like it's just you could tell like that was his best friend.
Definitely. Yep. Nick, I know you got a favorite person.
I was a big fan of Tony Kukoc in this episode.
Yes, he holds his own.
He really,
the whole thing.
He really came out and showed that he held his own. That he knew he was coming into a different situation. He knew he had to get better, and he did. Like.
After getting his teeth just kicked in by the dream team a couple years ago.
Imagine that moment too. Like Scottie Pippen doesn't want you to hit the game winner, doesn't want you to hit the ball, and then you go out and you. The crazy part is too they were showing. So when Tony Kukoc goes, yeah, I hit a few game winners that year, and they showed one. They showed one. And it was Scottie Pippen throwing him the ball, and then Tony Kukoc hit the game winner. Like they had it all written up before. It's like, dude, I just
Yeah,
don't know what
three
was
of them-
going through.
Three of those
his head.
plays were the exact same play. I noticed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it was
like
the exact
Scottie
same one
Pippen.
that they played again.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like what? Why did you not think?
And to be honest, they're not even that well drawn up plays.
No.
Like
Just
he
a
ended
lot
up
of
with an 18-footer with a hand in his face.
He's
Well, yeah,
tall. And he's tall. And
It's
he
your
can go get
6'10"
it.
ball handler that can shoot
You
over.
know what I mean, though? Isn't it crazy? Like they've been written up that way, and then they write up one for him, and then Scottie Pippen gets mad in the moment and wants to sit out. Like,
Definitely. No, it's a good pick. I thought Tony handled himself very well. Like you said, with the caveat of him getting absolutely his brains kicked in, 3 years beforehand. My favorite person, and I don't even know why, but I just love Ahmad Rashad. I don't know if it's like the
It's his
nostalgia
voice.
in my mind from him being on, covering games when I was coming into my formative years of basketball. But like he seems like another genuine guy. He was friends with Mike and like he could kind of give those inside stories. I don't know what it was last night. He's a good storyteller. He's got a good voice. I think it's the nostalgia part of it, but I just loved Ahmad Rashad in there talking about his relationship with Mike and how the stuff with his dad really affected him. So I don't know. I can't give you a perfect reason why. I just really enjoyed having Ahmad Rashad on there last night.
every time I see him on there, I go, "That guy's 70 years old." Every
70.
single time, it's just like, what? He
I
played
hope I look
football
that
in
good when
the
I'm
70s.
35.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's not
yeah,
too far
like
down
I
the
said,
road, buddy.
yeah. Like I said, it is wild though that like the life that guy has lived is insane. Matt, who's your favorite? Person.
Well, we already mentioned one of them briefly. Was Terry Francona. That was a great comment, like you said, the 1,500 at bats, and somebody with that kind of talent that kind of eye for talent in baseball. It says that it does come from a place of
But when he was like, I went up to him and went, "I'm Terry Francona. I guess I'll be your coach."
I was dying.
I'm going to Michael Jordan, being like, "Nice to meet you. I will. I guess I'll coach you."
Other one I liked a lot, we mentioned him briefly too, was Tim Grover. I thought his stories are fantastic. He's got stories for days. Another guy, like even like during the Pardon My Take interview too, you feel like you'd run through a wall for that guy.
Yeah.
Like after they lost the Magic, Jordan's comment, they're starting to get their plan together when they'd recoup and start handling their off-season workout plan. I'll see you tomorrow, and you have to believe him. And this is a guy that's been a personal trainer for some of the greatest athletes in the world, and Michael picked him for a reason, and you can tell he's got the charisma, the personality that it would take to kind of deal with a guy like Michael too. So I think it was a perfect fit. But he was a great interview. Seems like a really good dude, and I'd run through a wall for that guy too.
My admirable mention is Scott Burrell. He was that guy. He seems so nice.
He's a trooper.
Michael Jordan's like, I wanted him to fight me. Like I tried to get him to fight me, and he's too nice of a guy. I don't get it.
Well, how about the trainer story when he said about one day Scott Burrell was in the training room and Michael went in there, knocked him off the table, and said, "I played 44 minutes last night. You didn't see the floor. If I can practice, get your ass out there." Like, I mean, this guy was taking shot after shot after shot from Mike.
He told him to go home and feed his cat.
No, that was Scotty, I thought. Because Scotty
he was talking to Scott Burrell.
Oh,
Scott Burrell's like, I was 1 for 7 tonight, and he goes, "Well, go home and feed your cat."
This is awesome.
Just ruthless.
But another thing too is like, what's up with the
chirps of all time?
Yeah, well, he pulled out the hoe last night.
Yes, those practice footages were incredible.
When they had at the bottom, they had a hoe and they had H, and then they crossed it out, or they we know what you're going at there. Like we figured it out. But when he was just like calling Scott Burrell a hoe, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, he was going. He's just like, make the free throw, you dumbass.
Michael has some like wild things to say to people. Like, what was it? Will Perdue was like, yes, he was an asshole. He crossed the line a few times, but he was the greatest teammate I ever had. It's like, that's just a wild sentence there.
Right.
Like, He was.
Yeah, he hasn't had
ruthless.
one where he was like, I don't know if he was yelling the score back. He's like, "That's 9, bitch." And I was
Well,
like,
that one photo, a video of him in practice when he was like this to the people, like to the guy. I'm like, whoever that is, that's bone chilling. When he was like, look at me at practice or whatever, like focus pretty much. It's like if I was at practice, I'd be like, oh my god, what do I
Yeah.
do now? Like
now
they said
that's a
scared.
good point.
People were scared of him.
Moving into our least favorite person, I'm going to start off. I brought it up earlier. It's Scotty. He's come off not looking great in this whole thing. Going back to like the first couple episodes, kind of stepping over the line when it comes to Jerry Krause. And speaking of Jerry Krause, he also had the worst line of the entire documentary last night, and that is when the Bulls were introducing Tony Kukoc, and he said, "For those of you that don't know Tony, kids in Europe want to be like Tony." And I literally
It was
put
so
my head
cringe,
down.
wasn't it?
Yes, it
Well,
was trying so hard to play off the like be like Mike stuff, and it was just so bad.
Well, he's like the number 7 is very big in Europe because kids want to buy the number 7 because
they want to be like Tony. He had to make sure he got that line in because the famous "be like Mike," like that was his way of like saying like, "Oh, we're gonna be okay without him."
He also looks super awkward saying that too.
Yeah.
He was just like his eyes
It
were
was uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable.
You can even tell
he
Tony
was
was uncomfortable. He was like,
I'm gonna have to kind of go with you there, Boomy, with the least favorite is Scotty because like the way he doubled down on it and like imagine if that happened nowadays. Like somebody just like you are the best player on that team and you don't want to play because the coach didn't write up a play for you. Like, come on, man. Like that's when you kind of realize like
Steph Curry sitting out a play at the buzzer because Steve Kerr drew up a play for like Klay Thompson.
I mean, that just kind of goes with like you're not in it for the champion. I mean, he got championships out of it. You got a lot of championships, but like you're in this for you.
Oh yeah.
Like, that was a why I had forgotten about the whole thing. I had never really seen much about it. But the way he kind of like doubled down, and you would think, oh, this is my time to kind of get back and like people can kind of see I'm sorry about it or whatever. And he goes, I'd probably done the same thing. It's like,
yeah, this is where you be like, no, I was an idiot. I made the wrong decision and I regret it every day. Like, try to make yourself not look like a prick at least.
Yeah. Just try and change the narrative a little bit.
Definitely.
Like he has not changed the narrative at all in this.
No.
You don't care. I don't think. But like they were saying on 670 today, I think it was one of the guys were like it's Michael's documentary. It's Michael's point of view of everything. So like that's also kind of point too. But like it also is not coming off like he said. What was it? Michael was like, that's gonna follow him forever. Like that's like, he's like Pip knows better.
Especially now that it's gone public. And,
right.
Yeah. My least
like
favorite
you said, he
person.
didn't do himself any favors either. So.
Yep. Nick.
My least favorite person has not changed from episode 1, and it's Jerry Reinsdorf. Every time I see that on the stream, I just get pissed off.
Totally love that.
When he's complaining about paying Michael $3 million for playing baseball, and then he's paying him a baseball check. It's like, dude.
Yeah, he thought he would be like such a nice guy. Like, oh, by the way, just so you know, I paid his basketball. Yeah. Like, dude, shut up.
Yeah,
that's insane. Like, and he's on your team. He's making you. I wonder how much the White Sox.
Some of their salary. Yeah,
how much the White Sox
making
made
you money in Double-A.
Yeah.
Every time he talks, I just get pissed off.
The Double-A White Sox were making more than the White Sox then, probably.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like that, there was probably a lot of money going into that team. Like the amount of people that were going to the games. Didn't they say he like rented his like a charter bus for the whole team, but it was like a nice one? And they
he got
there was like
stories how he got tired of them having like crappy equipment, so he just went out and bought stuff for guys that had like beat up stuff.
They said like he did love the teammate thing. Like he said your family doesn't really like travel with you, so it's just you and the guys. And they said that I think it was actually Tim Glover that was saying it was like he really just loved being around the guys and just, like I said, get away from everything after everything had happened before going to baseball.
Definitely.
My least favorite was a guy I actually like a lot. So it's just like a 1 week ban for him, and that's the glove, Gary Payton. Great trash talker,
Yep,
great
I had
player.
him on my list too.
But all I could think of when he was talking about like how, oh yeah, well when we switched on Michael, it was a different series. If we would have been doing, all I thought was Paul Walker in Fast and the Furious after he lost the race to Toretto.
I almost had you,
dude. I almost had you. That's all I thought the whole time when he kept talking about that. And it's like, and Michael, when he was watching the live reaction of the interview on the iPad, it was priceless. His laugh,
wild
he just
laugh.
couldn't control himself. Yeah, I wasn't too worried about getting
He goes, I never had a problem with the glove.
Yeah.
He goes, I never had a problem with the glove.
He was a great player too. That's another dude. That guy was a stud.
He was defensive player of the year that year, I think.
Yeah, he was very, very, very good.
But the way he said
top 10 trash talker in history too.
Definitely a top 10 trash talker.
Still is like
probably first teamer.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's probably talking trash right now. Like they say,
there's a good chance. There's a good chance of it.
That would be a one-on-one game with him and Michael Jordan. Like now, would probably still be so competitive.
Oh yeah, those two would be competitive even in wheelchairs, no matter.
Throw Reggie Miller in the mix too.
All right, boys. My complaint from this episode is not much. I think these were the best two, back to back. I thought these were really interesting. The way they really dove into like the other side of the competitive side of Michael Jordan. But they didn't get into when Craig Sager started off the show by asking Jerry Krause about the backstabbing, and Jerry Krause got very mad. I would love to dive into that a little more.
And then the guy goes, "Way to go, Craig."
Yeah, way to go, Craig. And I'm like, wait, who is that? Craig who? And then I'm like, that's Craig Sager. But the way Jerry Krause just got so mad, you can see it in his face, like when he said backstabbing, he was like, "What did you say?" And then he ended it.
Say something like that was not a championship question or something like that.
Yeah, he said that was one championship. Unlike
some ridiculous line.
Unlike your question.
Unlike your question. But it's just like, man, that was an awesome question. Like just to think about, like, that was gonna piss him off when you said he's like backstabbing coach. He's like,
am I wrong too that they like? It seems like some of the camera angles make him look so short too. Like when
he got up from that table, he looked like he was about 3.5 feet tall.
I think it's because he was short.
Okay, all right. I guess it's just not a mind thing. Then.
No, I know, but it doesn't help that he just like I said, he was just a little round guy.
Yeah, it's priceless.
My biggest complaint is something I've kind of fought with, because I obviously loved Steve Kerr when he was with the Bulls. I was a big fan. And then as of late, he's been the coach of the Warriors, and I have stopped liking Steve Kerr. And then last night, kind of bringing me back full circle. Like I part of me wants to hate Steve Kerr just because he's the coach of the Warriors. And like, don't get me wrong, he does amazing things in the community, and he's very, outspoken on his beliefs. But there's just a part of me that doesn't want to like him because he's the coach of the Warriors. But last night, and him, really showing that how he stood up for himself to Michael, and showed that emotional side of like, I just got fed up with it and I pushed him and shoved him in the chest. Like I came kind of full circle, and I don't hate Steve Kerr as much as I feel like I should right now. So that's my biggest complaint.
How awesome would that be to be like, Michael Jordan's like, yeah, I respect him now. It's like,
yeah, right.
I did that.
That was impressive.
So my biggest complaint with this is this episode seemed to do it a lot more than the other four, or these two, but the flashback, like the time hopping,
it is getting more and more confusing.
Like I would, I'd get a message on my phone and I'd look down and I'd look up and I'd be like, wait, what just happened? Then I have to rewind 10 seconds. It just there was a lot of going back and forth.
Here's my theory on that. I was watching this with my wife last night, and she said the exact same thing. She's like, the timelines kept throwing her off. She kept asking me, what year are we in now? What year are we in now? because it would deviate and the cross lines would go. But I think it's been so easy if you even have a general outline of when shit started happening and what year he retired first off, and it flows really well if you if you live through a lot of it. It's weird.
A lot of that early
I don't
stuff
have that issue at all, but I can tell you, I can totally see how a lot of people are getting thrown off by it because it doesn't give you any kind of a warning. It just does the quick. It does the black screen. It tells you what year you're going back to, and all of a sudden the video starts going. So it's really it's a quick hit.
Early 90s, late 80s footage is there are times where you can tell this video clip happened earlier than this video clip, but then there's some of the stuff as they're closing in on the time frame, and 93 compared to 95. The film footage isn't that different. It's not it's sometimes it's just hard to tell. And then when they would bounce around in some of the storylines and you're like, wait, I know what storyline we're in, but when did the Jeffrey Jordan stuff, wait, what year did this happen again? I know the story behind it, but I'm just kind of a little confused on,
and they're in the 98 season, they're in the playoffs, so they were doing what 1 and 2 last night. Well, then 95, they go back and they're in the playoffs.
Yes.
It's I thought they were playing this team, but they're playing this.
That's a totally legit complaint, in my opinion. That's completely valid.
Yeah, but they do say it's all going to come together. Oh, and you did notice it jumped 2 or 3 years at one point. So you can tell it's all kind of coming together. But yeah, like I said, you can kind of tell, but I feel like we're gonna watch this so many times that we're gonna have it figured out. The amount of times people are gonna go back and watch it, once it gets on Netflix and stuff, it's gonna be. And the people.
Yeah, I feel like once you go through it a second time, it'll kind of. It just seems like one of those things where once you see it completely through a second time, it's gonna make a little bit more.
I watch episodes right before we record here. So I'll rewatch it, and you kind of get a different perspective because what's going to happen, so you kind of focus on different things during the thing, and I didn't realize that was going on during this and this and that.
The sign in Seattle that said legalize Kemp in 1996. Yeah, they were so before their time even then. This is awesome, hilarious.
Great to go back and find that.
Yeah, it's very funny stuff.
Maddie, did you have a complaint at all?
I'm gonna say this. I've got absolutely zero. I've got zero complaints at this point because the one thing I keep hearing from a lot of people, you listen to the radio, you listen to podcasts, or a lot of people are saying "Oh, I wish there was more Rodman." Well, Rodman's got his own 30 for 30.
Yes.
You want more minor league baseball? There was a whole 30 for 30 on Jordan's time in minor league baseball. Go back and watch that one. There was. This is the greatest piece of nostalgia of my lifetime. This is a time capsule and going back and looking at my youth again. This is so I can't complain about any of it. Some of the stuff that you guys are saying about the production, the timeline switch, totally makes sense. Especially the way Nick put it when you're talking. All right, one senior in the 98 playoffs, and you're flipping back and you're in the 95 playoffs in a different round. It's wait a minute, what? Because a lot of the players are still the same.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, some of those concerns I think are completely legit. Me personally, I'm out of complaints with this anymore. I don't have anything, man. I really don't.
I'd also when Michael's talking, I want to know where his glass of whiskey is at. Where, how much has he drank of it? Where's he at with this?
Zach wants a little camera in the bottom right corner of his whiskey and his cigars.
Absolutely murdering it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? At one point it's full, and the next point it's almost empty. It's where are we at here?
How many glasses deep are we? No, next week is the finale. I hate to even say it. It makes my heart hurt. But next week is the finale, episodes 9 and 10. I'm really hoping for an elaborate Johnny Knoxville prank, and he's going to pop out and be like, "Oh, we actually have 20 episodes," but I'm not holding my breath on that. So, what is something that you guys are looking forward to in episodes 9 and 10 next week in the finale?
I'm looking forward to the Reggie Miller, how that's going to go.
I should have went.
Well, I mean, we can all. It's pretty much the same. There's only so much we know is going to happen. But yeah, it's just gonna be kind of cool to see how Michael Jordan really thinks of Reggie Miller.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Zach. And Matt, we've talked about your hatred of the Pistons. I really came into, liking basketball in the last three-peat, and I vividly remember like standing in front of the TV making fun of Reggie Miller and his big ears. I hated him so much. I hated Reggie. He came on the TV last night, and I said, like, I was telling my wife how much I hated this guy, and she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I have just hated him since I was 5 years old. I still hate him. I don't like seeing his face. And I want to see more on how that relationship, because like that was my bad boys, like it was, for you, Matt. And I want to see more, as much of the Michael Reggie feud. But I'm really excited to see what, obviously we know the Bulls are going to win the championship in 98. I want to see what the locker room footage looks like after it, because they kind of all know that Phil's gone, and if Phil's gone, then Mike's gone, and like all these other contracts, like
they knew it was over.
They'll get to celebrate the same way they would if all of this crap wasn't going on.
Back to Reggie Miller real quick. He's the only guy that's ever been in the NBA who can make a claim that his sister's a better basketball player. So.
She is. She scored 106 points in a basketball game once, I think.
She was outstanding.
Yes.
Outstanding. Nick, what was yours, man?
So what I'm looking forward to the most is I want to see the fallout after the championship.
Yep.
I want to see if they show any footage of, the
Tim Floyd Bulls.
What happens after they win it? If they show like what happens with the players and how everything goes about. I'm almost excited to see that, but I have this strange feeling they're gonna win the championship. They're gonna show the parade or whatever with the 6 trophies, and then the screen's gonna go black.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be nothing, and then we're gonna have to wait for like a 30 for 30 for it. But I'm kind of interested to see if they show any of the fallout of the actual end of the era.
I agree. It could go either way, to be honest. Like, there's part of me that thinks they might go in depth on it, but then you said it great, Nick. I think they're going to show the cross and him, pushing him out of the way, nailing the shot, and then that be basically like the end. But I'm very curious to see if they're going to include any of that too. Matt, round us up, buddy.
The coolest thing about this whole thing has been like kind of how Jordan's peeled back the layers a little bit, and he's kind of gone deep into certain things that he hasn't really, talked about much. He scratched the surface of, the conspiracies about his dad's death and gambling suspension, that kind of stuff, even to that point. But so with that, I'm kind of looking forward to him just kind of going into a deep dive and dissecting the last shot. The whole sequence. I want to see where he, pick the pocket of Karl Malone on the one end, walk the ball up the floor, got the ISO set up against Russell, got the ISO set up on Russell, does the crossover, little hand swat, step back, the pose, the shot. I want to hear him just give me a breakdown of that whole stretch, because that's probably the most impactful 30 seconds of sports in my lifetime.
Yep. I'm also curious to see if they're going to go into anything with the Wizards, like when he came
I hope
back.
to God not. I hope not.
Anything else from
just that sequence, though, man? It's the greatest sequence in sports history, in my opinion.
I've probably watched the video of that shot no less than 200 times in my lifetime.
It's amazing.
Absolutely. Anything else from episode 7 and 8, fellas?
I'm sad it's going to be over soon.
Yeah.
I got a quick question I heard on a podcast today. So if you were to play Michael Jordan one-on-one right now, at what age do you think you could beat him? So how old does Michael Jordan have to be before you can finally beat him in a game?
Ooh.
100?
He's got to be at least 80s or 90s.
So I think at 70.
Can I go backwards and be 70? Like 4 years old or 5?
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're gonna get a DeLorean and travel back in time.
87.
87.
I could beat him at 87.
I'd say it's gonna be. Yeah.
I mean, it's a legit question because he could beat any one of us for the next 20 years.
Oh yeah.
Well, you think about even like some of those old guys that still play golf that they're 75 years old and they're still going out and shooting low 80s and shit. And it's like, wait a minute, how your body's not even supposed to move right now.
You hit the ball half as far as I do.
Right.
How do you have half the shots I do?
I feel like Michael, even in a wheelchair, will like still be beating your ass up and like rolling over your toes as he goes down the lane. Like,
I would say I'd have a chance of beating him at like 90, but he could still beat us. Like there's still a way.
it'd
Like
be a
he'd figure
close
it out.
game at upper 80s.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
which is just wild.
Absolutely.
Especially the
Well,
competitiveness he'd have too. Like he would not want to lose.
He might just start hitting you in the kneecaps, and he's sitting in his wheelchair just because he's not going to lose.
Boomy-
Or he'll
Boomy
create a
say
story
something
about how
stupid.
you nicked
Boomy
the
say-
side of his wheelchair and made it dirty, so now he's going to give you 35
He
points.
would just trash talk you until you cried.
Well, yeah. Boomy would like make a basket or like somehow make a basket and then say something, and then he would just never let you score again.
Oh yeah,
He'd give you the Scott Burrell treatment.
Yeah.
Be in his
you get the
wheelchair
personal
and just
shutdown
stand up.
mission.
He'd be in the wheelchair and just stand up like a miracle happened. And
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was week 4, episode 7 and 8 recap of The Last Dance. Make sure to follow our Twitter page at typical_Chicago. All the podcasts are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you go over to the YouTube page and subscribe there. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at BoomyTCF. Make sure you follow Matt Schoolfield at schools_01, Zach at ZLiliaTCF, and our special guest tonight, Nick Gons. Nick, thanks for sitting in with us. Make sure to follow him at Nick Gons12. This has been the TCF recap of The Last Dance, week 4, episodes 7 and 8. We love you all.
Peace.
See you.